Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Even a House of Cards script editor would have balked at the implausibility of this American election plot twist. Russian hackers, apparently backed by the Kremlin, were behind the leaking of confidential emails exchanged by senior Democrats showing that they wanted Hillary Clinton, not Bernie Sanders, to win the nomination. And in case that weren't juicy enough, Sanders supporters today booed their man's suggestion that they should all vote for Hillary in November. Hardly the ideal backdrop to the first day of their convention in Philadelphia today. On the plus side, though, Emily Maitlis is there.
Yes, thanks, James. Good evening from Philadelphia, where the Democratic National Convention has opened amidst a backdrop of drama, accusations, conspiracy and now apology. The party chairman has resigned following leaked emails which seem to suggest she was behind a plot to back Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders for the nomination, something that goes very much against party rules. Donald Trump has used this occasion to call Hillary corrupt. Don't forget his nickname for her is Crooked Hillary. Meanwhile, the Clinton campaign has blamed Russia for the leaked emails. They say that Putin did this and timed it to help Trump. This evening, the party itself has issued a deep and a sincere apology to Bernie Sanders supporters, but make no mistake, they are incredibly angry. What kind of a problem will they have with Hillary now, at a time when she so desperately needs to unify the party? And are any of them actually open to an offer from Trump? We took a road trip to find out. The journey from Cleveland to Pennsylvania is a good 10 hours of open road. We will pass golden farmland and abandoned steel towns, rolling hills and deserted wasteland. These, though, are the craved electoral battlegrounds of the 2016 election. Our first stop is the village of Volant, home to many Amish. They live a very different lifestyle to most Americans. Buggies instead of cars, no electricity, their bales of hay meticulously hand-stacked. There are people who've managed, by and large, to stay immune to America's febrile political atmosphere. They rarely vote, yet their self-sufficiency, working the land, producing all that they eat, wear and use, can seem rather appealing to a nation that keeps on being told it is no longer great. Theirs is a lifestyle that predates globalization, a curious blueprint for the many Americans who now feel left behind by the speed of change, who feel that too many products are now being made overseas, or that the link between worker and product is now irreparably broken. Americans like those who live here, a town that could once boast the largest steel mill in the world. Concerns about globalization, voiced in the States by Trump and Sanders, or in the UK over Brexit, are often traced back to the financial crash of 2008. But of course their roots were down decades ago, when all the heavy industry left places like this.
My mom and my grandma tell me a lot about it back when the town was a nice place to hang around and be at, when all the businesses were here and the steel mill was up and people were thriving. But let's hope we can get it back to where it is.
I asked Phil Bird which way he thinks he'll vote come November.
I dislike Hillary Clinton, and Donald Trump he's a joke.
So you hate both of them?
Pretty much. I wouldn't say I hate them, but I strongly dislike.
Pennsylvania hasn't voted for a Republican presidential candidate since 1988, but there are counties in this state that are getting redder, and here's why. The J&L steel complex that used to employ some 10,000 people in this Rust Belt town of Aliquippa has gone for good, and nothing has come to replace it. The protectionist policies of the 1960s gone, the workers blame globalization. They might once have chosen Bernie Sanders, and they're the challenge for Hillary Clinton to bring on side. This was downtown Aliquippa in its heyday, buzzing and bursting with life. Now that same road barely functions. We see no one on the streets, little business.
This used to be a dress shop, and my mom worked here when I was a kid.
Except this one, a cafe which doubles as a church community centre to those in need. Sam worked in the steel mills for 12 years until he was laid off. He found a new job, then lost that last year. Has it been hard to find more work here?
I'm not sure. Sometimes you try and look hard and make it happen, and sometimes you just don't slack off, not worry about it.
The cafe is run by evangelist Herb Bailey. He believes blaming globalization is wrong.
We are not players in the global market like we could be. We don't need to bring industry back that was lost. We need to create new industry. There are great innovations that can be done using the same physical labor, using the same intellect that captured the imagination of the rest of the world.
Sandra Gull runs the Dreamers Project from this cafe, inspiring the young women of this town to think big.
They didn't want to be the norm of having kids, hanging out in the corners. They want to do some positive things.
You're going to vote in November, are you?
Yes, I am.
Do you know who for?
Yes, I am. Yes, I do. You want me to say? Hillary?
Why?
For one, she was the backbone when her husband was the president. We all know that.
Will you use these instead of those?
Clinton polls exceptionally well with black Americans and with college graduates. But when it comes to the white working class, Trump leads her by an astonishing 40%.
Hell no, DNC! We won't vote for Hillary! Hell no, DNC!
Bernie Sanders might have brought many of them in, but the email leaks allow many of his supporters to voice what they long feared. Her nomination was a party stitch-up. In other words, it's no longer Bernie's problem, it's Hillary's. If the shrinking industrial heartland and all of this bucolic battleground in between doesn't feel she played fair, they may choose to stay home or go elsewhere. Ben Smith, the editor-in-chief of BuzzFeed, joins me now. He's just put away his BlackBerry, but I'm sure you can check that as we go, Ben. In terms of how much damage this has actually done Hillary Clinton's campaign as she opens the convention, what's your sense?
Well, this certainly isn't what they were going for. I think they wanted a kind of harmonious contrast to the Republican convention last week, and this is not that. This is actually a lot more, there's a lot more openly expressed conflict here than there was in Cleveland.
And in terms of the kind of protests we've seen on the street, Bernie supporters saying, anyone but Hillary now, or that they'll stay home. Do you actually think that they will withdraw their vote, or could they put it towards a Republican ticket?
I think probably electorally this is overstated. There's really no suggestion that Bernie supporters in any kind of numbers are going to vote for Donald Trump. There's a worry that young voters in particular will stay home, and there's a worry that the activists in this room will disrupt this convention and kind of derail Clinton's stage show a bit.
So what does she have to do now? What is the most important message that she has to do? Because we've already heard from Bernie Sanders, haven't we, asking for, conciliatory place. What was the phrase he used? To be very gracious in the hall towards his opponent.
Yeah, I think that, I think she would like to use this convention to talk to swing voters, to talk to people in the middle, in the suburbs, college-educated women who are thinking about Donald Trump. She does not want to use this convention to talk to Bernie Sanders supporters. She wants to take them for granted, and tonight, Bernie and Elizabeth Warren are speaking, I think, to say to them, look, get in line, whatever your problems are with Hillary, you should be terrified of Donald Trump.
One of the statistics that I pulled up in that film was that huge gap for the white working class, where Donald Trump has a 40% lead over Hillary. What does she have to do to close that gap?
Republicans have for decades, since Reagan, won white working class voters, and so I think there's going to be a big gap there, and those are not Bernie Sanders people. Bernie Sanders kind of looks and sounds like he's a product of the white working class, but his supporters, as you can see on the floor out here, are young and diverse. They're the traditional American sort of new left, and so I think for Hillary Clinton, it's all college-educated white people. So the people are the ones who moved toward Donald Trump in the last couple of days. and are the reason he's up in the polls, and those are the people she's trying to get back.
What was very evident at the RNC in Cleveland was just what a strong presence, unwittingly, Hillary Clinton was there. All the banners were aimed at Hillary, all the chanting was aimed at Hillary. But I guess if Donald Trump is present here, it has the opposite effect. He wants to be part of this convention.
Well, I think, at a convention where I think you see a lot more people holding Bernie signs than Hillary signs. Hillary isn't that present here. The party is united around her with no great passion for her, the way whereas some people love Donald Trump. And so I think they are hoping that Donald Trump will be able to motivate voters that Hillary Clinton can't.
So just talk about that, because that is going to be essential. In a sense, Hillary's got a marketing problem. She's not new, she's not novel, people know what they've got. She's got a very safe VP choice. Is she just going to play this safe, or does she have to do something dramatic and exciting?
I mean, I think up until about today, and probably still, the Clinton campaign plan has been to watch Donald Trump light himself on fire under the assumption he cannot possibly win, and do that thing that you have in football where they kick the ball around in the backcourt or whatever you call it. And when you're up 2-1 with 15 minutes left, and so that's kind of the game she's been playing. And I think the latest polls are making people in this building quite nervous that maybe maybe you can't just run out the clock on him.
Ben, great of you to join us here on Newsnight. And it's worth saying that the party chairwoman was going to kick off events here, and she was going to speak, but there was so much protest about that after the leaked emails that she has now pulled out. We're going to hear from Bernie Sanders later this evening. His slot has been moved even later, so he becomes, as it were, the prime-time guest. There's a lot riding on this. He has to speak to his supporters, but also speak to them and tell them to unify the party and get behind his former opponent, Hillary Clinton. Back to you.
Thank you, Emily.